Welcome, everyone. One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin.
Good morning. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Good morning. My name is Emily Carter. You can call me Emily. I'm originally from a small town, not far from the coast, but I've been living in the city for the last 3 years for work and study.
Thank you. And can I see your identification, please?
Yes, of course. Here it is. Thank you.
Okay. Let's start with some questions about home and family. Where is your family originally from?
My extended family come from a coastal region where fishing and small-scale farming are common. Both of my parents grew up in the same village, so a lot of family traditions revolve around the sea, like annual festivals and certain recipes. I grew up visiting grandparents there every summer, which gave me a strong sense of place and family continuity even though I moved to the city later.
Right. Do you live with your family now?
No, I live alone in a flat nearer to my workplace. I find living independently helped me to develop routines and responsibility. I travel back to see them about once a month or more when holidays come. Living away made me appreciate the family more, and our weekend video calls help us to stay close even when we are apart.
How would you describe your relationship with your parents?
I would say it's warm and respectful. They encouraged me to study and to be curious about the world. We have honest conversations about career decisions and personal matters. Sometimes we disagree about small things like lifestyle choices, but fundamentally we support each other, and that support was crucial when I moved to the city and started a new job.
Okay. Now let's talk about work and study. Do you work, or are you a student?
I work full-time as a communications officer at a nonprofit, and I also take one evening course in environmental policy. The job is quite busy, with a mix of event planning, writing, and stakeholder engagement. The evening course complements my job because it helps me to understand policy frameworks and gives me a stronger theoretical background for the campaigns I help to run.
How long have you been doing that?
I started the job 2 years ago, and I enrolled in the course about 6 months after I started because I wanted to formalize my interest in sustainability. Before that, I did an internship where I learned the basics of communications. I feel like the combination of practical experience and academic study has accelerated my learning a lot.
Interesting. What do you enjoy most about your job?
What I enjoy most is the variety in the sense that the work has purpose. One week, I could be preparing a community workshop. The next, I am drafting a policy brief or coordinating with volunteers. I particularly like the teamwork and the opportunity to see tangible results when a campaign leads to increased public awareness or policy dialogue. That sense of making a difference motivates me.
Right. Can you give me an example of a project you found rewarding?
Sure. Last year, I helped organize a local cleanup and awareness campaign about single-use plastics. We partnered with schools and small businesses, and the event reached a large number of people. I worked on the outreach materials and coordinated volunteers. Seeing hundreds of volunteers and local shops pledge to reduce plastic use was really rewarding. The campaign also influenced a small neighborhood policy on waste management, which felt like a concrete outcome.
Now let's move on to hobbies. What do you like to do in your free time?
I enjoy a few things. I go running 3 times a week, which helps clear my head. I also like reading, especially contemporary fiction and articles about environmental science. On weekends, I sometimes do pottery classes with a friend. Making something with my hands is a good counterbalance to the screen-heavy work I do during the week.
How long have you had those hobbies?
I've been running for about 5 years. It started as a way to keep fit, but became part of my routine. Reading has been lifelong, but my interest in environmental writing grew over the last 3 or 4 years. Pottery is more recent, maybe a year, and it's been surprisingly therapeutic. It gives me a different kind of satisfaction when a piece turns out well.
What do you enjoy most about running?
I enjoy the rhythm and the time alone to think. Running helps me to plan my day mentally and reduces stress. Also, I like training for occasional races. Having a goal makes the training more structured. Running outdoors connects me to the local parks and coastline, so it's both physical and restorative.
Right. Now, about daily routine, can you describe a typical weekday for you?
A typical weekday starts early. I wake around 6, go for a short run, or do some stretching, then prepare breakfast and read the news. I work from 9 to 6 with a lunch break in the middle, where I often meet colleagues. After work, I attend my evening class twice a week. Otherwise, I catch up on emails or do some reading. I try to have an early dinner and spend the last hour before bed relaxing or doing pottery practice if I have clay dry enough.
How has your routine changed recently?
It changed since I started evening classes. I used to have more free time after work, but now I balance study and work so evenings are busier. Also, since the pandemic, some meetings are remote, which saved commuting time and allowed me to be more flexible with activities like running or meeting friends during the day.
Okay, finally in part 1, let's talk about future plans. What are your plans for the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I would like to progress into a senior communications role and maybe lead a small team. I also hope to finish a postgraduate diploma in environmental policy and possibly contribute to a larger campaign that shapes local or regional policy. Personally, I would like to travel more, perhaps spend a few months working abroad to learn different approaches to community projects.
Why do you want to work abroad for some months?
Working abroad would expose me to different cultural contexts and project approaches. It can broaden my understanding of how communities engage with environmental issues and improve my adaptability. I think experiencing different systems can enrich my professional skills and inform how I design campaigns that are culturally sensitive and effective.
Right. That is the end of part 1. Now, we will move to part 2. Here is a topic for you to talk about. Please tell me when you are ready.
I'm ready, thank you.
Describe a memorable journey you have taken. You should say where you went, how you traveled, who you were with, and explain why it was memorable. You have 1 minute to prepare, and you can take notes. Start when you are ready, and speak for about 2 to 3 minutes.
Last year, I made a journey that still feels vivid in my mind. I traveled to a remote island on the northern coast for 2 weeks with a small group of friends from university. We traveled by train to the coastal town and then took a ferry out to the island, which was quiet and largely undeveloped. The trip combined hiking along cliff paths with small community-led workshops about coastal conservation. One thing I remember clearly is the early morning when we rose before dawn to walk to a high point and watch the sunrise over the sea. The colors were incredible, and there was a real sense of peace. Sharing that moment with friends who were equally moved made it special. We spent time helping a local group monitor shorebird populations, which involved long, patient observation and recording data. That hands-on element added purpose to the holiday. It wasn't only relaxing but educational. We also ate traditional food prepared by residents, learned a few local songs, and stayed in simple guest houses run by families. The experience highlighted how small communities can manage natural resources creatively and responsibly. Another reason the journey was memorable is that it was the first time I combined leisure with volunteer work. It changed how I think about travel. Instead of just sightseeing, I now look for trips that allow interaction with local communities and learning. The journey felt transformative because it combined friendship, learning, and a direct connection to the landscape.
Thank you. Can I ask, how did that experience change your view of travel?
It made me prefer slower, more engaged travel. I used to plan lots of places in a short time, but after that trip I realized depth matters more than ticking boxes. I now look for opportunities to stay longer in one place, meet locals, and learn about their practices, especially conservation efforts.
Okay. Did you keep in touch with anyone you met there?
Yes, I am still in touch with one of the guest house owners and a volunteer coordinator. We share occasional messages, and I try to support their initiatives by fundraising or spreading the word about their work when I can.
Right. Now, part 3. We'll discuss ideas related to travel and community projects. Do you think travel helps people to understand different cultures better?
Yes, travel can foster understanding because it puts people in direct contact with different ways of living and thinking. When you spend time in a place, you notice everyday practices, language nuances, food customs, and social norms that you wouldn't get from reading alone. However, the depth of understanding depends on how you travel. Superficial tourism might reinforce stereotypes if people do not take time to engage meaningfully. But travel combined with curiosity and respect can broaden perspectives and reduce prejudices.
Interesting. What role do community projects play in tourism?
Community projects can transform tourism into a more sustainable and mutually beneficial activity. When tourists participate in or support locally run projects, funds and skills can be channeled directly to residents, helping preserve culture and environment. It can also give visitors a more authentic experience. The key is ensuring projects are community-led rather than externally imposed, so local people retain control and reap the long-term benefits.
How can visitors avoid being a burden when they join such projects?
Visitors should educate themselves beforehand, seek reputable organizations, listen to local leaders, and be prepared to follow guidelines. They should avoid assuming that short-term presence can solve deep issues and instead focus on supporting sustainable initiatives, such as skills exchange or small donations. Respecting customs, contributing time humbly, and not disrupting local routines are important to avoid being a burden.
Do you think governments should promote volunteer tourism?
Governments can play a role by setting standards and supporting community infrastructure, but promotion should be cautious. Incentivizing volunteer tourism can attract resources, but there must be safeguards to prevent exploitation. Public support for training locals to manage projects and clear regulations to ensure transparency and accountability would help maximize positive outcomes.
Right. How has technology changed the way people travel?
Technology has changed travel in many ways. Booking and planning are far more accessible so people can research destinations and reviews easily. GPS and translation apps lower practical barriers, enabling more independent exploration. Social media influences choices by highlighting experiences, sometimes encouraging, viral travel trends. On the other hand, technology can also homogenize experiences. If everyone seeks the same Instagrammable spots, rather than exploring unique local culture.
Do you think technology makes cultural understanding deeper or shallower?
It's mixed. Technology provides tools to learn about cultures quickly and stay connected, which can deepen understanding if used thoughtfully. But if technology is used only for sharing images or following trends, it can trivialize experiences and create a superficial understanding. The outcome depends on user intention and how these tools are applied.
Okay. Let's talk about responsibility. Who should be responsible for protecting local cultures when tourism increases?
Responsibility is shared. Local communities should have the primary say in how their culture is presented, but governments, businesses, and visitors all have roles. Governments need to set policies and infrastructure to manage tourism sustainably. Businesses should operate ethically and contribute to local economies. Visitors must act respectfully. Collaboration and clear governance help balance cultural preservation and economic benefits.
How can education help tourists behave more responsibly?
Education can raise awareness about cultural norms, historical context, and environmental issues before and during travel. Pre-trip guides, briefings offered by hosts, signage at sites, and respectful tourism campaigns can inform behavior. If tourists understand the reasons behind certain practices, they are more likely to act responsibly and avoid unintended offense.
Do you think mass tourism will decline or continue to grow in future?
I think mass tourism will continue to grow in many places due to rising incomes and easier travel, but its form might change. Climate awareness and capacity limits could shift demand toward more sustainable or regulated tourism models. In other words, numbers might not fall dramatically, but the way tourism operates could evolve, with policies steering growth toward sustainability.
If you had more influence, what policy would you introduce to improve tourism?
I would introduce a destination stewardship scheme that caps visitor numbers at sensitive sites, channels a small levy into local conservation, and funds cultural education programs. The levy would be transparent and managed by a board, including community representatives, to ensure funds support local priorities. Such a policy would balance access with protection and provide direct benefits to communities.
Right. Finally, how do you think the way people travel reflects wider social changes?
Travel patterns mirror broader priorities, such as environmental concerns, digital connectivity, and social values. As societies emphasize sustainability and authenticity, travel choices shift accordingly. The rise of remote work has also changed travel, with more people combining work and travel for extended stays. These shifts show how mobility, technology, and values interact to shape behavior and priorities across societies.
Okay. That is the end of the speaking test. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
The candidate demonstrated Band 8 level performance. Notable errors included saying, "I have been living here since 3 years," when the more accurate phrasing is, "I have been living here for 3 years." Saying, "If I would have more time, I would travel more," instead of "if I had more time, I would travel more." And omitting an article in a phrase like, "I work as teacher," which should be, "I work as a teacher." These slips were infrequent and occurred only occasionally across the test, and they did not prevent clear communication. Fluency was strong with smooth flow, natural discourse markers, and only very brief hesitations and self-corrections, such as, "Sorry, what I mean is." Vocabulary was wide and appropriate, with precise terms like destination stewardship scheme, stakeholder engagement, and conservation monitoring used accurately. Grammatically, the candidate demonstrated control of complex structures, with occasional lapses in conditional forms and preposition choice, but no systematic errors. This performance aligns with Band 8 because the speaker communicated complex ideas coherently, used a wide range of vocabulary with flexibility and precision, and spoke fluently with natural rhythm and intonation. What prevented a higher band were the rare but noticeable slips in very complex grammar and a couple of small article and preposition mistakes. Reducing those occasional errors and maintaining perfect accuracy in complex conditional constructions would be necessary to move to Band 9. To reach the next band level, the candidate should focus on polishing conditional and preposition usage under pressure, and continue practicing varied complex sentence forms to avoid occasional slips. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.